Coming up on today's show, General Motors partner LG Chem announces a brand new US facility for building parts for the Chevrolet Bolt EV, why Tesla's Model 3 aero wheels are worth keeping, and we look to a future where you'll be able to share your Tesla with almost anyone. These stories and more coming next on 10. Like all our content, today's show is funded by the in-stream ads on today's video and by the kind donations of viewers like you. Follow the link at the end of today's video to make a monthly donation to our Patreon crowdfunding campaign to help keep us independent and impartial. And if you're already donating, thank you for your continued support. It's Friday, August 25th, 2017. I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield, and if you've seen a few less videos from me this week, it's because it's been a week filled with wonderful, wonderful things like the solar eclipse, meeting the fantastic Yahoo Garcia, and taking ownership of a brand new Chevrolet Bolt EV. But as always, I've got plenty planned for today's show, so let's get on with it. While GM may have shut down production for a few weeks this summer at the Orin facility where the Chevrolet Bolt EV and several other GM models are made, GM's tech partner on the Bolt EV, LG Chem, announced this week that it will be building a brand new production facility in Michigan where it hopes to make new parts for the long-range electric car. The reason is pretty obvious. At the moment, LG Chem is shipping parts from South Korea. It's a costly and time-consuming process. By switching a lot of its vehicle parts production to the US, it not only saves on time and money, but it also makes it easier for the company to respond quickly to changes in demand for Bolt EV parts. And that, in turn, should mean GM can increase production goals. And as a side, with GM's Bolt EV stock still on the high side, I can confirm that GM Finance is now throwing some serious money around to incentivize you to buy a Bolt EV. While the Bolt EV and Model 3 are currently winning on price versus range, a new survey from Autolist this week suggests that their range may still not be long enough for mainstream buyers considering a switch. Of the nearly 15,000 people questioned in a nearly year-long survey, just 18.3% of buyers said they'd consider a car with a range of less than 200 miles. But that jumped to 57% of those questioned when the vehicle range went up to 300 miles per charge, showing that people just don't want to have to worry about charging or range, regardless of what hardened EV fans and advocates will say about the topic. At the same time, though, Autolist suggests that it believes the Tesla Model 3 will suffer the least depreciation of any electric car to date, thanks in part to the Tesla Model 3's good looks, its over-the-air software updatability, and its price tag. Given the Model 3 is new and EV tech moves quickly, though, I'm not sure we have the data to confirm that yet, but I guess we'll find out soon, eh? As I mentioned at the top of the show, a thin swathe of the US experienced a total solar eclipse on Monday, with totality sweeping from west to east across the nation in a very majestic way. And while some had worried about the solar eclipse causing a problem with grid demand due to the whole drop in solar radiation during the eclipse, data from California shows that the state's electrical grid, the most heavily reliant on solar in the whole of the US, was just fine, relying far less on gas turbine backup power than it was predicted it would. Of course, power usage was probably lower during the eclipse because everyone was outside watching it, but I should note that the one thing that did suffer during the eclipse was Tesla's supercharger network, which experienced some pretty high levels of demands and long queues as Tesla owners flocked to places within the line of totality. For as long as I can remember, Honda, Toyota and Hyundai and a couple of fuel companies have been working very hard to make California a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle state. But as the latest data released this week from the California Air Resource Board shows, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles are still struggling to gain a hold in the state. Between June 2016 and April this year, just 1,300 new hydrogen fuel cell cars hit the state's roads, bringing the total to just over 1,600 cars in all. What's more, only 29 active fueling stations exist so far, far less than hydrogen fuel cell supporters had hoped. Faraday Future may have just taken over a lease on a California manufacturing facility as part of its plans to bring the FF91 to market, ending hopes it would build a massive $1 billion factory north of Las Vegas, but it seems that its financial woes and downsizing attempts are far from over. That's because this week we heard the news that the company is exiting Formula E, leaving its racing partner Dragon Racing in the lurch, 1 year into a 4-year race partnership. It's not clear how this this will end, but Dragon is reportedly frantically searching for a new partner before the new season starts this fall. Mercedes may have recently officially ended production of the B-Class electric drive, but at next month's Frankfurt Motor Show, it's announced it's going to be unveiling a new concept car that will give rise to a new EQ family vehicle. EQ, for those who don't know, is Mercedes' new electric vehicle brand, and over the coming year or two will launch several new plug-in models to compete with Tesla in the premium plug-in marketplace. We'll also see a new plug-in hydrogen hybrid model at Frankfurt from Mercedes, which hints that Mercedes views hydrogen as a viable fuel source too. Watch this space. If you've been following the slow rollout of the Tesla Model 3, you might be wondering what those strange covers are on the standard Model 3 wheels, and perhaps more importantly, while they're there. They are called aero caps, and as the name suggests, they're designed to help make the Model 3 more aerodynamic. But the difference can't be that great, right? Well, wrong. According to Tesla's VP of Engineering, the aero wheel covers on a Model 3 can improve the car's range by up to 10% when compared to a Model 3 not using them. And that's the difference between being able to travel 200 miles per charge versus 220 miles per charge. So before you consider getting those larger wheels on your Model 3, think about how much further you could go with the aero wheels instead. Enough said. The Fisker Karma may now be living a second life as the Karma Revero, but the guy behind the original car, Henrik Fisker, is readying another new plug-in car for market, and this time it will be known as the Fisker Emotion. It will be an all-electric, all-wheel drive vehicle and retail for a cool $129,000. And, says Henrik Fisker, we'll see the car for the first time in the metal, as it were, at CES 2018 in Las Vegas. While we already know what the car will look like, these are official press photos, it's going to be interesting to see how this vehicle will be received in a world where Tesla is currently the dominant player. By now, I'm sure you're all familiar with the concept that every Tesla on the road has always-on internet connections right back to Tesla HQ. And as well as making it super easy to add new features and updates to the car, it also makes it possible for Tesla to improve its cloud-based autopilot AI, collecting data from thousands of cars on the road to improve and refine its Level 3 autonomous driving tech. Well, this week, Tesla CEO Elon Musk hinted that it could be used for another purpose too, making it easy for Tesla owners to borrow someone else's Tesla using their smartphone, customizing the borrowed Tesla exactly to their own specifications before they even get behind the wheel. And that, it seems, is just one step down the road from a point where you get in whichever Tesla happens to be available, even if it's not your own. There are no details as to when the feature will roll out, but it's certainly going to turn the concept of car ownership on its head. With all the talk of the sun, Audi announced this week that it's busy at work developing a high-power photovoltaic solar panel system for use in the panoramic roof of its upcoming electric cars. The goal? To improve the energy efficiency of the car in order to improve its range. But rather than plaster the roof with solar panels that will provide motive power, Audi's aim, like Toyota and Nissan before it, is to use the solar panels to help power the climate control system, thus reducing the load on the car's ancillary systems and improve overall EV range. Are you a closet petrol head? Because if you are and you like small, sporty cars, you'll know exactly what the Ariel Atom is. And for those who don't know, it's a tiny two-seat sports car that, through lack of body panels, has the kind of power-to-weight ratio that most car makers can only dream of. The Ariel Atom is powered, unfortunately, by petrol, but now its parent company Ariel has announced a new car called the Hyperactive. And this one will be fully electric. With a 2.4-second sprint time, the hypercar puts out 880 kilowatts, produces 1,800 newton-meters of torque, and will go to production in 2020. With a choice of 42 or 56 kilowatt-hour battery pack and a 35 kilowatt micro-turbine range extender, it should be an absolute hoot to drive. Form an orderly queue to test drive behind me, please. In the world of cleaner, greener, safer and smarter transportation, it's all too easy to forget that the transition away from fossil fuels isn't just about cars and motorcycles. It's about other forms of transport too, which is why HH Ferries in Scandinavia is busy putting the finishing touches to the refurbishment of two massive car ferries that are destined to become the world's largest all-electric ferries. Fitted with 4.16 megawatt hours of battery packs, the two ferries feature robotic arms that extend to the dock's dockside every time they arrive in port, recharging the battery packs in the 9 minutes or so it takes the ferry to turn around and make the return trip. Yes, we're talking major power here, but where there's a will, there's a way. And I totally have to ride on these. And finally, over the past 5 years, we've got used to seeing Tesla's high-performance Model S sedan and more recently the Model X SUV teach high-octane sports cars a lesson or two on the drag strip. But this week, the folks at Drag Times pitted a Tesla Model X P100D and a Tesla Model S P100D against a Lamborghini Aventador SV on the drag strip. Sadly, the Model S didn't get a clean launch and lost the race by 0.15 seconds, but the Model X managed to beat the Lambo by 0.05 seconds, setting a new speed record for an SUV in the process. I've included a link to the original video in the description, so check it out next. As always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss an episode. And if you like what I'm doing, why not contribute to the show's costs via Patreon? I've left a link at the end of this video and there's one in the description below. As always, I'll be back next week with more cleaner, greener, safer and smarter transportation news. But until then, thanks for joining me. I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield. That was 10. Have a great weekend. And until next time, keep evolving.